Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark Amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Welcome back, everyone. This is Into the Nexus. I am Garrett Weinzerl. I am sitting here with Kyle Ferguson, who may or may not freeze if you're watching the video version, because we've been having Skype issues for the last 5 minutes as we've tried to get this show started. But that doesn't matter. We're going to sit here, and we're going to talk about Heroes of the Storm anyway, because honestly, Kyle, I mean, you're an attractive man. You've got a nice beard and fantastic hair, but what is really, I mean, what the thing that gets you paid is your sultry voice. So as long as that is working, that's really all that matters.
True. And the skills are there, right? I mean, we got to stay practiced, got to make sure you don't embarrass yourself while playing. All those things are good to have in addition to being handsome.
Yes, absolutely. Way to not shoot back with being over humble about your looks or anything like that.
Yeah, well, gotta assert yourself.
Yeah.
So, Ghostbusters, man, they said it best. If someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
I mean,
and
I didn't.
If you're gonna
ask
first pick that Leoric, you say, "I am a god."
Yes. I actually lost the game to a solo tank Leoric today.
You know, I've seen that a lot recently. Solo tank Uther, or Leoric and Uther together, and it's working.
Yeah, I was surprised, especially since we got a Li Ming first pick on our draft. But we're not going to go down that road. You can go down that road next week when you investigate more replays to see if there was something I could have done better.
I'm excited because I'm going to continue that MMR investigation into the coming weeks. 1 week is not enough. I was able to watch quite a few replays this week. Help out some people, find ways for them to move around. But this entire show kind of has a nice little basket woven for the conversation and strategies today, because we got to hear from devs about some of the MMR things going on, some of the matchmaking going on, and it kind of plays into what everyone's experiencing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we dive into the big news, the headlines, all the stuff going on within the Nexus this week, we wanted to remind all of our patrons out there who are supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN that we are doing our call-in episode, our patron hangout, tomorrow. So tomorrow, July 1st, if you're listening to this on the download, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be live streaming it right here on twitch.tv/amovetv. And call-in information, if you've never called in before, can be found over at patreon.com/ITN. Obviously, you need to be a patron to see the post, but nonetheless, that's how it works. Now, Cal, let's dive in, because there's quite a bit to discuss.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
And we should listen, Cal, because we got yet another balance update this week.
Yes,
we did. How do you feel as one of the two Frost Bros? You and I like playing Arthas, but you like playing Anubarak. His base health got a bit of a nerf. It was decreased by a small amount, as well as his health regeneration.
Yeah, he lost 100 hit points. So I actually haven't played Anubarak since the update came out Wednesday morning, and that's when I do a lot of my solo Q&A shows, get a lot of grinding done in Hero League. And 100 health, that's a perspective thing for me. I am going to burrow out at the last moment, particularly if I'm solo tank. I don't want to solo tank anyway as a Nubarak. I would rather dance in front, absorb those Leeming orbs, those Chromie sand blasts, and then be able to give up the majority of the sustained tanking to an actual healthful tank. Okay. Maybe with some damage mitigation on him.
So overall, you think this is keeping with the spirit of Anubarak?
I think so. I'm a little sad about it. It does take away that potential for a solo tank role for him. But does he need that? I mean, he has so much lockdown. His kit has always been amazing. I don't think we'll see a major fall. We're going to see one this week as people slowly kind of figure out what 100 health feels like. And there will be some surprise deaths for experienced Anubarax. But ultimately, I think this is a step in the right direction. He's on top on win rate right now. Blizzard wants to do something about it.
Well, fair enough, and they did. And I'm kind of along the same lines as you. Nothing else really got touched. It's just his health. So he's still quite effective. His kit still kicks ass, like you said. So it really just, for me, it feels like I feel like he always, he always shined alongside another tank, and this change just kind of, slots him in to that dual tank setup. So Leoric got some buffs. Actually, once again, another tank that you love. Interested to hear what you have to say about it. Got a damage increase on Drain Hope. So going from 20 to 25% of the target's maximum health. The healing was changed to match that. And the healing in Undying form was increased from 10% to 12.5% of Leoric's maximum health. How do you feel about these changes? Plus, Willing Vessel, the talent at level 4, also received an alteration.
To match what it was increasing it to, now it goes up to 30%.
Yes.
This is interesting. This is a reversal of a nerf that once took this down to 20% from 25 in the first place. 25 is a really nice number. It's a fourth. And Leoric has jumped up over, not a lot of games. There's only about 2,000 some odd games played with him right now. But he jumped up 7% in the win rate, making him the second most winning tank in the game right now next to Rexar.
Wow.
Rexar, of course, with that dedicated following of very few people kind of playing him, kind of that Chen sort of role.
Have you been back on Rexar? Because I know you were, as always, kind of the Rexar hipster, as you've been with so many tanks. Anubarac. Leoric probably being the only one that I wouldn't say you were hipster about. You were into Leoric when everyone else was into Leoric.
My hipster glasses are firmly set on Greymane right now.
Okay.
But Rexar, ever since I lost that Merc power, just the what was it, 200%, 300%? I don't remember the exact numbers anymore. But Rexar used to just destroy Merc lanes, anything non-heroic, and then they rewound off that. And I used Rexar for those purposes, Blackheart's Bay. Or I'd use it to hold a shrine, which is still pretty good. Area control, maybe, a temple on Sky Temple, or that Dragonshire shrine. But it doesn't have the same energy it had, doesn't have that Merc capability. And I feel like if you go Rexar, you're going to throw your whole draft for a loop, so I avoid it.
Okay. Fair
There's
enough.
still those odd instances, though, where I am last pick, nobody has picked a healer, nobody has picked a tank, and you can go solo Rexar there because Misha can be the tank and you can be the healer for Misha, and you can get it done.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's like, well, how do I do this in WoW when I need a solo boss? Men pet. Why not?
Exactly. Or you get like a rogue to dodge it out or something like that. But you have some options on Rexar to build him in a way that does sustain Misha an incredible amount. And if you've got like a Murky in there, yeah, that's just more fodder for them to chew from while your backline actually gets the business done.
Right. Absolutely. So, you're happy overall with the orc? Has this, for you, I know you're probably, well, I actually don't know, but I'm assuming you're probably not as practiced up with the orc as you used to be.
No.
But are you practicing on him? Is this now a hero you're trying to get back into your favorites bar?
I think he might have a place against those double tank comps where they went like, for some reason, Johanna ETC. There's just piles of health on the enemy team. Maybe even an Asmodan sitting around with a health-based tank. Johanna's a little special because she can put up her own shield, her own damage mitigation in that way.
All right.
I feel like it's really dangerous to stand still right now with the amount of power in our sustain characters, particularly our melees. So ghosting out as Leoric is still very dangerous. And I don't really want a solo tank with him quite yet. Plus, the whole reason why solo tank Leoric was a thing in the first place was the damage. The damage on that skeletal swing was so high, you would scare everyone off. And you created a zone of slow during a time period where there wasn't a lot of movement-based abilities. Now, Tracers, basically anyone can spec for some sort of 30% movement speed, and slowing everyone down doesn't really create a front line.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's not surprising me to hear you say that at all. I mean, if there was one quote from you that I could think of, like if you had a tagline, Kyle, it would be "not impressed by slows."
No. Particularly those diminishing slows.
Right.
which Lyric doesn't have, but some characters do. This win rate, though, that's intoxicating. I'm excited to try him out now.
Well, great. I honestly, I don't enjoy living in a world where when I go and play Heroes of the Storm with Kyle, I don't see him on Mr. Skeleton King really at all. Because
No.
there was a stint there, and I feel like it was during the Johanna Leoric heyday where we were playing together a lot. And it was Leoric and Gazlo became the heroes that I attached to you.
Yeah, right now honestly, it's like Johanna Greymane 24/7.
Johanna Gray. Yeah, there's worse. There's a worse duo you could choose to really tie your boat to.
Absolutely.
So, well, let's talk about Medivh because his basic attack damage was buffed rather sizably from 65 up to 80. That's a nice buff to his basic attack. His attacks per second, however, was increased as well. So that's a minor there. I'm not even going to bother reading the number. You can go look at the you can go look at the actual patch notes there.
No, but this is a big deal. I mean, we took him from the 65 of someone like a Jaina,
right?
And now he's more in the specialist range for auto attacks. And on top of that, they upped the damage on his Arcane Rift by quite a bit, even sort of baked in one of the base talents. I mean, Medivh now puts out a pretty respectable amount of damage with all that utility.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see how this pans out because we talked about with Dunk Train that we just can't wait to see the pros get a hold of this. And Medivh seems like, especially after talking to Dunk Train about it, it's like he seems like he has the potential to be extremely strong. So that has to be something that you have in the back of your mind when you're trying to balance a hero like this. It's like, well, he doesn't have he's not this presence that by himself can really make plays or have a massive impact on the game or put out a lot of damage. So, but at the same time, by being able to have this mini bubble and deny so much damage, not to mention the utility of having something like his portal, it's got to be scary when you're tweaking these numbers. Because I'm curious, like, what's the break point? Do you think at what point do you give Medivh too much damage, or his utility mixes with that and just becomes really scary at the high end of play?
And they also up the movement speed on his Raven form. It's only up 5%, but it is a step in the right direction, and all those sort of things add to a more responsive Medivh that can land and actually get a decent amount of damage done. I mean, Medivh was working really well against Murky yesterday, which was kind of funny. Someone puts them in a octograb, and the pufferfish time is ticking, and you kind of have a feeling for it. Those are the sort of things you can really easily force of will through with the shield.
Right.
And now that you have the bonus movement speed, the attack speed, the damage on the Arcane Rift, you can kill said Murky in a good amount of time.
Is this the only compliment, or like the only tagline you're going to give Medivh, which is can kill Murky real good? Because I mean, at the end of the day, is that impressive, Kyle?
No, and we'll see. Right now, he's launched up 10% in the win rates, putting him still at 35%, well below many of our others in the 40s.
Right. And
that's
that doesn't...
a good climb, though.
But that's kind of what I was talking about. Like, I can see that, for again, not a hero for your average player, not a hero for your average pickup game, your average solo queue. You're going to go play 3 games, solo queue, Hero League. What are you going to pick? Probably not Medivh because of the coordination that's required for the hero. Doesn't make him a bad hero. I actually think he's one of the most interesting heroes we've gotten in a long time. But I'm more curious about what happens to Medivh on the high end. If we're going to start seeing more of him on the tournament scene, and what pros can do with him and can do with him now after he's gotten these damage buffs.
What I'm really curious to know is if we can do a supportless comp with a good Medivh against burst damage. Like predictable burst damage, like that Murky maybe, but I'm mainly thinking of blizzards, flame strikes, sand blasts, arcane orbs. If you're a good Medivh, you're able to counter those things, and that is a ton of burst damage negated. Sustain, though, he's open to. He's going to get destroyed by, because it just continues to flow out.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, which piques my interest because of the talk we're going to have later about support and the idea of support being more about damage mitigation rather than just constantly topping people off. Maybe there's more room for someone like Medivh in that world.
Yeah.
So we did get some dev comments specifically on the Medivh change. They said that they, while they are still excitedly waiting to see what competitive teams will be able to do with Medivh, they've gathered enough data to see that Medivh could benefit from strategic buffs, what they're calling. And they did say that they realize that his success is reliant on how much the rest of his team capitalizes on his abilities. So that's why they targeted giving him more baseline power, which makes sense. I mean, this is what you and I have been talking about since Medivh was teased.
Good. And that'll give him some solo queue capabilities.
Yep. Well, let's talk about teases, Kyle, because we got a few teases today. I mean, one of them's pretty much a confirmation of something we already knew, but...
Right. Does anyone really not wait through the credits these days?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I distinctly remember going to see not Winter Soldier, Civil War, and when the credits started and people got up, I just kind of turned to my wife and said, how do people not know how this goes by now?
No, in fact, I wait through movies that don't have it because I still don't believe that there's not going to be something after the credits.
See,
I've been trained at this point.
Marvel is the only one where I expect it, and I will sit through the credits. But anyways,
Depends on the song too, right? I mean, if it's an action movie and then it just goes straight into something whiny, you're just why? I mean, I get in Disney movies, you have to pump out those now 20 billion whatever they're on CDs where the pop singers of the day sing the cover of the Disney song you just heard. It's that I run from. I got to get out of there.
I'm right there with you. But basically what we're talking about is the Heroes Twitter was just on a tease fest today. Basically, the first thing that came out that got everyone excited said a familiar evil approaches the Nexus, but first he must visit the public test realm. And then we got a gif of what looks very much like Gul'dan. More in-game version of Gul'dan, not the Warcraft movie that just came out version of Gul'dan. Although, I gotta say, Kyle, I would be all for one of Gul'dan's heroic abilities being throwing off his robe, showing off his old man muscles, and, as you said, bear hugging someone to death.
Yes, face-sucking bear hug.
Yeah, face-sucking bear hug. I
With
like
the level
that.
20 augment Medivh cheats.
No,
wait, that's an actual talent.
Yes.
Gul'dan cheats.
Oh, you're right. You are absolutely. That's a very good point. So that came out, and we know it's going to be Gul'dan. The interesting thing is people have been getting PTR mismatch errors. So it still hasn't been confirmed, but a lot of people are thinking PTR might be happening tonight.
Seems that way.
Wouldn't be the first time, I believe, that we got a PTR update on a Thursday evening. But yeah, so Gul'dan coming to the PTR very soon. Some whispers, rumors that he might be coming tonight or before the weekend. Which would, now that I think about it too, that does make sense because, okay, probably get it Tuesday when we usually get patches from Blizzard. But Monday's July 4th. I'm assuming everyone's going to be out partying instead of working, as they should be. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to buy it, Kyle. I think, what if we end the show tonight? We can go and play Gul'dan.
That'd be pretty awesome. He is highly sought after. They even put out another tweet saying, "Do you remember what Medivh's warning was when he appeared in Warcraft 3?" It's like, well, but okay, but that was that Burning Legion. So wait, are we doing it again? Are we in the past? Is it movie time? Is it Warcraft 3 time, or is it Legion time?
Yeah,
I'm getting confused here.
They specifically said Lordaeron, which puts it, at the beginning of Warcraft 3, and yes, he was warning them about the Burning Legion and the Scourge. Correct? It was kind of this dual warning about both threats.
He was basically like, "Get out of here!
Yeah.
It's about to get real."
Yeah, you are going to die.
That area you said was Forsaken. It's not Forsaken. Go over there.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I know you're excited for Gul'dan. I know I am excited for Gul'dan. Not much else to say. I would be surprised if he ended up on the PTR before we got, his ability list leaked or we got a spotlight video about him or anything like that. Because traditionally those come before they pop up on the PTR and we can try them.
I feel like they're running a bit late, though. Yeah. I mean, remember Towers of Doom? All those pumpkins came out about 2 months after Halloween, but sort of seemed like it should have been a Halloween map.
Yeah.
I feel like Blizzard meant to have Gul'dan ready. It wasn't ready. Good. That's great. I love when game companies take their time. Please take your time. And so we're going to have some sort of, maybe an event, hopefully, possibly. But then what happens with this new tease we got with Diablo stuff going on?
Yeah, we got another tease later today. So we got the Gul'dan tease. We got some tease asking us if we remember what Medivh's warning was. And now we have another tease from the @BlizzHeroes Twitter account saying the minions of hell grow stronger with a GIF of Diablo heroes waiting at a what looks like a Infernal Shrines rift.
Definitely a rift of some kind. They've used the effect of the shrine where the Punisher emerges from.
Right.
But inside it's showing Westmarch.
It is. It is. So what the H?
So the minions of hell grow stronger.
Yep.
By the way, Vala, Nazebo not in this picture.
No, specifically Nova with her Diablo 3 skin. Or Diablo,
Yeah.
sorry, not Diablo 3, Diablo 2.
Yeah, her Amazon skin.
Yeah.
And the minions of hell grow stronger, suggesting that we have a Nephilim on the way. But we got the Crusader when we went to Westmarch. So I'm really confused about this one, guys.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, because I literally just when I saw this, I was thinking, I was like, oh, what hero do we get from in Reaper of Souls? And I couldn't remember for a second. And I'm like, oh, I'm staring at her. It's Johanna. It's the Crusader. We already have them. So what is showing me Westmarch telling me? And specifically, if you're gonna, and this is where we go down the nerd rabbit hole. But when you say the minions of hell grow stronger, that makes me think it's specifically a hero being added, not a villain.
Right, nor is it an angel, because the angels aren't playable. They don't make anything stronger. They wreck minions of hell. I mean, seeing
Yeah.
Westmarch, of course, makes me think, I want Malthael. We wanted him for a long time. Granted, he's a little, at least his kit in the game as presented, is a little part Dahaka, part Vala, kind of slammed together. So I don't know if there's room for his kit as presented in that game right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of rumors about a specific angel because of those 4chan leaks.
Yeah.
Not going to say who, because some people consider that spoilers. So,
right, and not a Nephilim. And yes, that is further backed up by the fact that the team is absolutely aware we need more supports in the game. Kind of odd to think, though, amidst all this conversation about what supporting should be in the game, that we get another support now.
yeah, that would be strange. Which, yeah, I don't know. Let's wait 2 seconds to dive into that, okay?
That's a whole nother conversation that we're about to have.
We're just about to have. But before we get to that, Team League rewards, Kyle, they've been buffed a bit. Each Team League game you complete will now award 100% bonus XP, as well as the gold rewards have been increased to 50 per win and 30 per defeat. So they're really trying to incentivize us to get out there, build a 5-man team, and try out Team League.
Good. Cool.
Also, Kyle, I am using the words try out on a feature that has been in the game forever.
It's tough right now. I know the majority of team leaguers aren't having a particularly good time. It's great playing with your friends. It's awesome that you now get bonus rewards. It does combine and build if you have a stim pack. So that's pretty awesome on top of things. But really, there's such an extreme skill gap in Team League, and the wait times are long that often you hit that YOLO 600, and you end up going against either a pro team or Scrubby McScrubsville, and it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, but you know what, Kyle? I've been playing a lot of 6-stack competitive Overwatch this week, and it feels the same.
Feels about the same there. I haven't done any of my placement games and what have you.
It feels like I'm experiencing the same thing. Obviously, the queues aren't long, but I feel like I'm either getting stomped or doing the stomping.
It's kind of how Overwatch goes, though.
I feel like in quick play, I got plenty of close, good, well-balanced matches, but that's neither here nor there.
As someone who plays mostly Mercy, that's how my games normally go.
Oh, well, there you go, Kyle. You're not taking your own advice from a different game that can still be applied by playing a hero that you can actually have a rather large effect on the battlefield.
Well, when I can A-move in Overwatch, I'll play an attacker. All this aiming business is rather cumbersome.
Fair enough.
Unless I'm Bastion, and that doesn't really matter if I aim well.
You're actually one of the better Bastions I play with in that game.
Oh, thank you.
Because you know to move your butt after you get a kill or two, so
Right.
you don't just get hard countered.
It's not some sort of magical mystery strategy. Just if you kill people when you were sitting there, don't be sitting there when they res to come for you.
Exactly.
Kill
exactly.
somewhere else, then move.
You just made them angry. You should probably move. Anyways, let's talk about supports. So for the past 2 weeks now, so this will be the third episode in a row, we've been talking about health sustain in Heroes of the Storm, and that is because Blizz Cooper has been leading a discussion on the official Heroes forums about health sustain and what they're thinking to do to bring it more in line, make losing health a little more impactful, make denying regen globes from your enemies more impactful, and also getting your own regen globes more impactful. The thing was, Kyle, if you remember 2 weeks ago when this discussion was started, in the thread it did say, hey, let's hold the discussion on supports for now, because we'd really just like to talk about health regen globes, and fountains. Now we've had that discussion. We even talked last week about how they feel now after getting everyone's feedback, and also what some of their internal tests had to say and what it showed them stat-wise. Now they've opened up the floodgates and are asking us to join in on the conversation about supports. And they kind of kicked this off by talking about feedback from the community saying that supports feel like heal bots. And I'm curious how you feel about that, Kyle, because I feel that way only about Morales.
Sure. That's because Morales, the big danger there is getting bored. Actually, I found a little more excitement in Morales recently because I have to lead with safeguards. And that requires me to be looking ahead, not just staring at myself, almost with locked camera on for the entire game. I actually need to predict where that orb might come from, and that's a little bit exciting.
All right.
Mostly I'm playing Lily, though, as support because as someone who loves auto-attacking, I love denying auto-attacks.
Yes, I'm back on the Lily as well, as you've seen. Folks watched our stream on Monday. They saw us leveling up our Smurf characters, and I was healing on Lily. And,
Yeah.
you know, man, if you go back to the early days of Into the Nexus, I really gave her a hard time, but I have a good time playing Lily now.
Oh, she's great. She's fantastic. And of course, we're talking solo queue, and there's tricks you can do if you have good positioning to actually target one particular person. But mostly, negate the damage, use cups at a good time to encourage your team. You're going to be a good Lily.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, is there anyone else you feel like you're a heal bot on when you're playing, or is that pretty much you're good to go? Are you in the same boat as me? You're pretty much happy with supports?
Morales is the main one. I understand, though, the complaints of Rhaegar mains, that they have lost a lot of their flavor without being able to target themselves with that ancestral healing. And now they feel more like, going out of position is too dangerous. I'm a heal bot again.
I feel that to a certain degree, and we've talked about that on the show. But let's talk about some of the points that Blizz Cooper brought up. He did say, hey, healing's kind of a big part of what makes support characters feel powerful, and that they are not looking to drastically change the way that they play. Because when I first saw this headline, I was like, my brain started racing. Okay, what are they thinking? What are the changes? Is everyone going to end up more like Tassadar and Tyrande, where they were a little more active and less on big heals? But that doesn't seem like that's the direction that they're heading. They reminded folks, hey guys, not every character is going to fit your play style. I always find that interesting, kind of funny when they have to remind everyone about that. And then they also talked about why they look to talents to add additional depth, so that there are heroes that are specifically way easier or seem easier when you look at them untalented. And they gave the example to Uther, which we've brought up on the show many times. We even talked about him, I think, last week when I think it was an emailer who brought up the difficulty, the difficulty levels that are assigned to heroes, and we're like, why is Uther considered easy? Because if you're playing him on the high level, you have more buttons than anyone else in the game.
Yeah. Piano Uther, as they called it here in this post. I love that.
Yeah, I have not heard that before. I just used to call it button Uther, but I like Piano Uther. That's pretty great. And then they also talked about how there was a large amount of feedback that was complaining basically that supports are not playmakers, which I disagree with that, Kyle. How did that land on you?
I disagree as well. The whole fascinating and awesome thing about being a support in Heroes of the Storm compared to other MOBAs is that you are a playmaker. When you land a heal, a divine shield, a movement speed buff because you talented into it. You were having an actual real-time effect on the game. And when I used to play support in other games like Dota, it was my job to maybe hit you with a sweet heal, but I need to get out of there because if I'm even in the area of you receiving XP, I'm going to take half of it away.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
Yeah,
I was very set and forget it. I'll buy all the important support items in the background, maybe even buy something for you so you don't have to spend your hard-earned cash. But otherwise, I'm meant to be healed, not seen.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, again, it's where I don't really agree with it. I mean, Bliss Cooper brought up in his points and kind of defended that healers are indeed, he thinks, in ways playmakers, and I agree. Things like Divine Shield, things like Ancestral Healing. But once again, I kind of agree, again, in the sense of Morales. Yes, you can pull off some sick saves with Medevac, but it's not a common thing to see.
Right, and you can have totally sick saves with your heal beam, but it's just kind of attached to the person. That Morales, outside of making sure the person didn't outdistance them and activating the heal in the first place, hasn't done anything truly incredible.
Right. Do you think some of it? I mean, the obvious ones are things like Divine Shield and Ancestral Healing. Those are big. It's very obvious when it happens when you save somebody. But
are easier to use ones. I mean, we have Divine Palm, but that fizzles often.
Yeah, it can be countered. But do you think some of it is, I don't know, maybe a lack of understanding, maybe even something that goes kind of in the route of, say, way back when we first started doing this show in the early episodes, and I was hating on Abathur, and you were like, listen, man, you don't understand how much work it takes to play Abathur and play Abathur correctly. And it's one of these things where you're doing all these things, and you understand as the person playing that hero what you're doing to help the team, but it's just not as flashy, or it's not as obvious to the other four players on your team what you were doing in the case of something like a Lily Blind, for example.
Yeah. And that just shows in everyone's stat sheets. If you're amazing at a certain hero, go check out your Hot Slogs account, see what heroes you win a ton against, and it's usually that guy you play all the time, because you know what makes him tick and what's going to tick him off. I mean, watch Zagara players clear Zagara creep. They will. That building's almost dead. Forget it. They're going to clear that Zagara creep because they know how much Zagara hates that.
Are you aiming this at me in any way, shape, or form, Kyle?
No, not particularly.
I was about to say, because I clear creep obsessively.
I love it. Please do. Please continue.
Yep. Gotcha. So that was some of the points that he brought up in terms of supports, people feeling that they are not playmakers. Did bring up the point that supports are not assassins and don't expect to see supports head in that direction to where they're going to be these lethal, playmakers.
I don't know about that. I mean, I was getting to duo queue with Gorath from the Core podcast this week, and he has a particular Malfurion build where he puts everything into Moonfire.
Yeah,
and
there's exceptions that prove the rule.
Right, and but it's not flashy. So I do agree with this conversation in the first place. When he was like, here comes the Moonfire spam, and just started deleting folks, guess who was proud of themselves? The Tracer, because she was in there punching people, shooting shots, but it was actually the Malfurion Moonfires that weren't very visible that was doing all the cleanup.
That's a good point.
So this is a tough one, just in general, like, because if you don't bring raw healing, you bring utility.
Right.
But then we think about something like Lunara that has her little scouting wisp. Is that something that should be taken away from Lunara if we transform our supports into something more utility-oriented? There's also this idea in the past that, the supports and the tanks have the most CC, but CC has been slowly cut back from this game. So have supports over time become heal bots because they lost that role in the first place?
That is a good question to pose there, Kyle.
And I don't expect you to answer it.
I mean, I would argue that I don't necessarily think CC has been taken away from supports. I think the supports that had in the first place, it is still there. I just don't think anyone should be holding their breath or expecting to see more crowd control on future supports.
No.
No, that's kind of my thoughts there.
We don't have a cast time on any support spells in this game, do we? We have channels. But, anytime you think of World of Warcraft, I'm thinking of that bar going and casting as fast as I can in case that tank gets hit in the face with something while I'm not looking.
Well, you did just talk about how dangerous it is to stand still back when we were discussing Leoric.
That's true. That's true.
So I wouldn't expect to see that from a support anytime
maybe
soon
I
either.
wouldn't want it, but that's another avenue they could go to
Yeah.
add uniqueness to new supports.
I don't know. I mean, you'd have to make the heal pretty big, and then it's like, well, do you make it bigger than Uther's heal?
Right, because it's
Because
instant.
Uther's doesn't have a cast time. So questions to think about. Anyway, let's talk about some of the things that they suggested, things that they may be testing internally. They specifically brought up Lieutenant Morales, Kyle, and when you and I were writing the notes earlier today, you heard me get kind of giddy when I read this for the first time. They're currently thinking, they're exploring changing the way that her displacement grenade functions. And I know some of you are probably mentally checking out right now going, displacement grenade, not interested. Just hear me out. They said that instead of automatically detonating on the first enemy hero that the grenade hits, they've changed it so the player chooses when the detonation occurs along its path. So it still travels in a straight line. It still has the same distance. I'm assuming they didn't mention making it longer, making it shorter, or anything like that. But now I'm assuming you just tap the button a second time and it explodes. So this basically lets you choose whether you want to push a target away using the blast or towards you using the blast. I'm very excited about a Morales with that feature.
That's cool. I would love this to be a talent, actually.
Ooh.
I would want to make the choice to go into this because when I'm playing Safety McSaferson, I just want that grenade ready, always on cooldown for when that Diablo is eyeing me, when that ETC moves in a straight line towards me. It's the idea of having to push back someone in melee range by going click click is really scary.
That is true, but think about your solo queues. Think about your average pickup game.
The possibility for Morales to be a playmaker with this in the game does increase, and I agree that's a very cool idea to make our supports more active and certainly raise their skill floor.
I'm all about it personally. I would like to see it baseline built into the talent, so that everyone out there playing Morales get to learn how to use this change starting at level 1. It's not something they have to talent into. It's not something that they have to forget they do not have when they go into game 2 as Morales.
Right. And what do you even put it up against? I mean, the majority of Morales talents I wouldn't sacrifice for this functionality.
Right. But interested. But they also had a couple other random thoughts. Talked about how they specifically want a flexible meta. I don't think that surprised anybody. That they don't want to see just the same comps over and over again, and they want to see the meta vary over time and change based on the battleground that you're currently on. And they also said that they like how the current meta allows for 1 to 2 support characters per team, because they like the variety that offers in your team composition. However, they did say that they would occasionally like to see 0 support team compositions, although be it rarely, which is interesting. I mean, we've had games like that. They're wacky. Those are usually examples we give of how to pre-tilt your pickup game.
Yes.
But I'm with them. I would like to see that, and it be sane.
Yeah, it'd be entertaining for sure.
Right. And then finally, they said that it wasn't off the table to retune the total healing output of support characters. They gave an example of decreasing healing by 30% across the board, but increasing health pools by 30% across the board. Basically meaning that healers are more about mitigating damage rather than constantly topping off their team. So that's it. They did bring up that they, while that's a viable direction, they didn't really think that it addressed either of the core concerns about, not being playmakers, but or feeling like heal bots. But at the same time, that's interesting. And again, I want to pull it back around to the Medivh discussion we were having from earlier.
Supports would certainly have to change the way they play in that environment. They should be playing that way anyway. It gets me a little nutty when I'm standing right next to my support out of combat. We're walking to an objective and they're just hanging out on their mount, but I'm missing a little bit of health. Just go ahead. There's no reason for you to be the first one to that objective anyway. Jump off that mount, top us all off before we get there. Rhaegars, man, I know you gain mana regeneration when you take your special little talent while you're in wolf form. I don't care. Top me off. Get out of that, Wolf. Top me off so we go into this fight full health.
You keep saying things on the episode today that I'm thinking are targeted specifically at me, by the way.
No, I haven't played with your Rhaegar in a long time.
I know. But I'm just thinking, I'm like, yeah, I do that in Rhaegar sometimes. It's like, oh man, I don't have full mana.
Hey, if you're learning something from what I have to say, all the better, right? But I'm not ragging you, man.
I know. I'm finding it amusing, basically. So, anyways, really the big important thing is here, folks, if you're listening to this, you clearly care quite a bit about Heroes of the Storm. So definitely head over to the official forums if you're interested in this discussion about supports, and make your opinion, make your suggestions heard on the forums, because that's the whole purpose of this post that we just detailed. So head on over there. Kyle, Team 1 has been quite chatty this week.
Yes.
That we just barreled through was quite the post, and there's already a lot of discussion happening over there. But that's not the only thing we got directly from Team 1 this week. Blizz Travis talked about specifically, because the question keeps coming up, why is your rank in the game and MMR two separate things? And he kind of broke it down in a way that, I mean, we've heard the discussion a lot of times about why MMR isn't just public and whatnot. And it's even more interesting now that it is public in StarCraft. But Travis broke it down in a way that I don't think really had been mentioned. And he said MMR is an internal measure of skill used by the matchmaking system to ensure we're placing players with and against players of similar skill. And that it's a long-term measurement that is continually refined as you play games. In the grand scheme of things, though, your MMR doesn't move a whole lot for most players once they've reached a plateau in what he called your skill development. Whereas the difference is that the ranking system is supposed to be a measure of your skill and activity over a shorter term, so that in a single season, now that the ranked update is here, it's loosely tied to MMR, he said, but also speaks more specifically to your activity that season.
So a couple of interesting things here. First of all, speaks to your activity in the season is a nice way to say your grind. And lots of people are kind of finding out that the current system does favor grinding in order to improve your internal MMR that you do not see, but also to get up in rank. It takes a lot of games. Lots of people are calling for promotion matches to be removed in between the individual numbered ranks. But when you go from, gold to platinum, those deserve a nice little show, a little explosion, a demotion match, what have you. And making sure those points kind of accumulate as you go in a more clean way and understandable way. What really interested me, though, about what he had to say, and kind of the scary thought, is he said that MMR changes over a season, these 3-month periods, are usually about 1/10 of a single rank, meaning that all the games you play, grinding out that MMR, grinding out going from, gold into diamond and so on, your actual internal Blizzard MMR is only changing about 1/10 of that. So if we have our golds in 2,000 and our diamonds in 3,000, and you make it from gold to diamond, you're actually only about 2,000 and 200, and that's disappointing. That wouldn't be a lot of fun to see.
Right, that's a good point. And so, again, we bring it up all the time on the show, which is the science of fun. And that's the whole point. That's what the rank system in Heroes of the Storm is. That's what the ladder system in Hearthstone is. That's what the competitive mode that we just got in Overwatch is, where they've got rank 1 for rank 100. That's what it all is. It's all obscuring this number that honestly isn't that gamified, isn't that interesting, and you won't see move. It's giving you this, in a way, an illusion of progression.
And a carrot to chase with these rewards, and having a flashy emblem and portrait border and all that sort of thing, which we all enjoy and find very fun. And it's a more fun way of saying how skilled you are. Instead of someone being like, I'm 2,000, but I'm stuck here because I've ruined all my games, you can say, I'm gold, but I'm stuck here because I've ruined all my games. But all the same, the conversation feels a little less weighted and less nitpicky when you're comparing yourself to your friends, and feels like you can more achievably reach their skill set. However, this whole conversation is thrown for a loop by Blizz Losby's post about why some matchmaking problems are happening, and he called this his matchmaking insight post over on Reddit. He revealed that the old system used to create a focus group. So let's say there's 2 teams building, and team 1 gets built first. 5 people, they're all locked in. They're waiting for opponents. That team and their MMR and whatever information they have would be averaged out to build the second team, which would cause the craziness that we saw of, friends matching together and causing everything for a loop, and you have a bunch of bronzes with your grandmasters. For the most part, that's gone now. Can still occasionally happen when people hit too long of queue times and Blizzard sort of throws the switch to find you that game fast. He also revealed that when you jump into a game and you click that ready button and immediately finds you a game, you're actually often paired with someone who's been waiting too long, and you're filling out their game. So there's a misconception that my instant game is super well crafted because it was instant and found exactly who I am. Instead, it's actually doing the opposite.
Ah, gotcha. So are you saying that you should be concerned if your queue insta-pops?
Yes, it's not a good thing, actually.
All right. That does make a lot of sense now that I think about it.
But for the most part, that was the old system, the focus group system. Now, the current system, with all the updates, are more individual based, and you will only queue within your range. So if you queue as Platinum 1, you're going to fight Platinum 2s or Diamond 5s. That's great. That means it's more individual based. But look at what they just said about MMR in the previous post by Blizz Travis. This means that it's taking your rank, not your MMR, into account when it makes you a match in an individual system. So if I'm bronze and I have an amazing, amazing friend, and sure, I up my skill by hanging out with this friend, I become a better player, but my internal MMR over my climb from bronze to diamond has really only changed about that 10th of a rank. I've gone up very few MMR points. This is why we can have some very crazy MMRs when we check HOTS logs, because it's focusing on rank, not MMR to make your match right now.
Ah, gotcha.
So the system further favors grinding.
I don't know how... I mean... I said, don't know how I feel about that. I mean, gut reaction is a negative kind of, I don't like that. But how do you fix that? How do you not, how do you fix this without having a grind? I mean, you have to log games. You have to give the system data so that it knows what to do with you.
Exactly. And you shouldn't just go launching up like crazy. And it's a team-based game. StarCraft has its MMR. If I want to tank my MMR, go for it. The other guy has a great time with my game being thrown. If I want to work real hard and get up, sure, I'm applying just myself in a 1v1 game. But in group games, things are going to get silly here. These two conversations put together, though, do reveal a bit of a picture of what's going on right now. And we need to decide as a community, do we want the shinies and these rewards and the leagues that kind of come with them? Or do we just want MMR and for things to be as even as possible?
Where do you fall, Kyle? Because I really like those pretty new disco balls.
They're real pretty, aren't they? And knowing what prizes you can go for, they're very motivational.
Yeah.
I myself, when I got into this game, the story of so many people, some, this is their very first MOBA, some, this is just Heroes of the Storm, a different MOBA. For me, I got in the game, Abathur Asmodan, something I'd never kind of seen in a MOBA system. And we could say, in a sense, that I tanked my MMR by not really caring because these characters were fun. Now I have to grind out. So I've always been a little low MMR ranked for Diamond. For me, that would be rank 1 in the previous system. So for me, grinding out gets me better matches than perhaps my MMR would allow me to.
All right.
And if you work really, really, really hard in bronze and only go up 75 points on your internal MMR, but climb from bronze to gold, you will have better matches, and that's a good thing. But what about that guy who had excellent MMR, maybe doesn't deserve it? He's in gold, giving you your experience of quote-unquote MMR hell. So the door swings both ways, and we're going to have to decide as a community what we want, because Blizzard is asking us what we want.
Yeah, and it's funny that this came up now. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They're saying, tell us what you want. And the thing is now that being posed with that question, being posed with all of this information, I honestly don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, because as much as I would love to see my MMR, I mean, if it's a choice between that and a more, what I would call just traditionally Blizzard-like system, something that's a little more, polished and user-friendly like the ranked system that we currently have, I don't know. I'm not sure I want to get into a more cold and clinical system where I'm just staring at a number.
Right. Well, and I get in my game and I see 2075 on me and 2025, and I know that each game I gain 5 points. That 25 guy looks real bad, but instead I get on the loading screen and I see everyone here is in my healthy range, Diamond 3s, Diamond 4s, and I'm very happy going into that game.
Yeah.
So we need to gauge people's expectations. Also, it's important to note, very important to note, there's a lot of returning players. There's a lot of angry people. There's a lot of trolls. There's a lot of leavers. The game is growing in popularity. Those things are to be expected. Keep reporting. Everyone keep reporting, and we're going to make this a better game. And that's true. We're going to have to suffer a little bit for.
I've seen a lot of silenced players this week, so the reports are clearly working.
Yes.
And as you saw in one of my games that you reviewed, I tend to get salty from time to time.
Well, and we'll get them out. We will. The really extreme trolls will get reported out, and all leagues will be better for it in the coming months.
Yeah. Yeah. How to build a ladder system has been on my mind a lot lately with competitive mode hitting Overwatch, because there's something about having a 1 through 100 system that has fallen a bit flat for me, and I think it's because of what you talked about, which was, someone's 5, someone's 1, but we're all in Diamond together. So it makes sense. So you have this larger pool of people that, even though it's arbitrary, even though it's just something that someone over at Team 1 decided this is what we're doing, it's this larger pool, and it just gives you this common ground, something to latch onto and be like, cool, yeah, we belong together. But then you say you got a system more like Overwatch, it's like, well, I'm 50. What are you? I'm 47. Well, I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah.
So
plus, you gotta sell shirts. I mean, league shirts are fun to wear.
That's a good point. Very good point. So basically what I'm telling you, Kyle, is I am aware I'm a sheep, and I think I like it. I think I like it. But anyways, let's put that to rest for now. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more discussion about ranks in the future. Let's see what Dustin Browder has been tweeting this week.
Right. I could be wrong.
Kyle, I can't believe this. Apparently, in response to some complaints about being rather tired of Garden Terror, and this particular tweet that he was responding to also is Tomb of the Spider Queen, which confuses me. I still love Tomb of the Spider Queen. Apparently, Dustin Browder said that we are also a little grumpy about Garden of Terror, and I'm assuming we, meaning the team. So, is something going to be done with Garden of Terror?
We assume. I know it seems like from week to week, they want more maps. They don't want to remove Garden Terror and not replace it with something else. Do we get a West March map? That's kind of weird after our previous Diablo map Fiesta.
I really like that tile set in Diablo 3, so I would be all for it, especially if there's an alleyway with clotheslines, because that looked really cool. Mm-hmm. Maybe less corpses on the ground, because that was kind of gross.
Sure. I think it's a bit grim for Heroes of the Storm as well. Diablo kind of goes full into that sort of thing.
That is a really good point. You could bring it down. You could turn it down to like 7.
Right, but I'm talking like when you got in West March, there was bodies.
Yes,
unreasonable amounts.
It wasn't as bad as the Skeleton King's kind of torture chamber, but. Yeah, I'm following you. I'm just saying I think you could do West March in the hero style, and it would work, and it would still get across that as West March. Anyways.
His was more juicy, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, I'm following you. I'm right there with you. I don't think we can expect to see Garden of Terror go anywhere until another battleground reaches the game.
It's so weird that we're still playing Blackheart's Bay.
It is, but I like that map.
Yeah, my win rate on it is great. I think it's the most snowball-y map, but just the fact that it was our alpha release map and, it's first on the list, one of the first developed maps next to Dragonshire, it just seems kind of odd for the health of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to just the quality of the design of the battleground. I think there's a reason more players are winded with Garden of Terror, which is a newer map, than they are with some of the launch battlegrounds. So
agreed.
Dustin Browder also said that engineers are at work on improving the reconnect feature. I feel like we've been hearing this forever. at this point, but in the defense, we have received a lot of new features, a lot of updates to the game, so I'm feeling more patient than usual, Kyle.
It's nice to know they're working on it. I enjoy the updates.
Yeah. That said, come on.
Oof,
Light a
yes,
fire under you. Please fix that reconnect feature.
If I can just make one ringing request to Blizzard, just turn off the sound, please, when I'm reconnecting. It is brutal.
That's a good point. Because it's like
those dings, seeing that red come on the side of the screen when I know computer Gazlo's up to something. Ooh.
Let's say it's the equivalent of being like locked out of your own party and having to listen to it go down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it still drives me nuts. I've been very fortunate to not have been disconnected anytime in recent memory, but it's like war flashbacks for me when I think about it. It's not pleasant. So, anyways, before we dive back into your requests for replays from folks who believe they are indeed in MMR hell, let's thank our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN who are directly supporting this podcast. We really appreciate you guys. You're the reason we don't run ads on the show anymore. We give you a code or two at the end of the show, but there's no pre-roll ads or mid-roll ads or anything like that. So this episode, let's thank Neil R., Heath H., Albert T., Lisa R., Ryan C., Chris P., Jeff N., and Dan F. Thank you guys for supporting the show. And if you dig into the Nexus and you'd like to support us, head on over to patreon.com/ITN because that's where you may do so. Now, Kyle, let's talk about quote-unquote MMR hell, because I know you are of the firm belief that honestly it doesn't exist, that there's always something you can do better. There's always something that you could improve on. Are you still with me?
Oh, are we not going to play the sound?
Oh, yeah, no, because I didn't think this was the strategy section.
Oh, okay. Hey! We made it to strategies, everybody. So, Garrett.
Yes.
I reviewed one of your replays.
You
in
did.
My MMR hell investigation. I am just uncomfortable even saying that phrase.
Yeah,
it's something I really do avoid.
You reviewed you reviewed a game of mine where I'm fairly certain, I can say with almost complete certainty, this was the angriest I have ever been playing a game of Heroes of the Storm.
Yes. Understandably so. You were powering games. I believe you even said this was kind of your one more just a win for the night sort of thing. And your final two pickers decided you did not need a tank. You required Butcher Nova.
Yeah, this was loss number 3 in a row during my placement games when I hit my first losing streak.
But to my surprise, while I was reviewing and casting said MMR Hell games, you showed up and you watched it fully.
Why wouldn't I? That's the whole reason I sent it to you.
But, you know, you have to break down some ego walls, and learning is hard. I agree. I'm an angry learner. You know, I do a lot of teaching, so it's kind of funny in that way. But when I ask someone a question and they say, well, first you have to understand this concept, I go, oh, why do planets spin? Well, first you have to understand gravity. I'm like, no. Just tell me. Just come on. Give me the goods.
Yes. That being said, Kyle, I went to an art college, so I got to watch things that I put blood, sweat, and tears into be thrown away and called garbage.
Fair enough. Good for you.
So, anyways, yeah, I did show up. I'm assuming you're wondering what I thought of your critique of my play.
Right, because you experienced it in real time, and then a week later we sat down and kind of talked about it. What sort of things stood out to you when we were looking at a game that looked like it was thrown in the first place?
I do not typically go back and watch my own games. So, really, for me, the thing that stood out was I was noticing what I was doing wrong right before you said it. And I was like, oh, I should not have taken the top lane to come around and cleared out that lane before engaging. Even though I thought Kael'thas leading the charge was dumb, I should have just went with them.
Yep.
Yep.
Watching your own replays is a very valuable resource, and you'll remember things differently. Much like my sweet Calamity triple kill I got, which was actually a triple assist, in which I missed 2 calamities, and the Murky actually did the kills. That was a very disappointing replay to watch, because I was like, yes, you know, I'm gonna make a gif of me being awesome. Here we go. Let's watch that. Oh, well, I did okay.
Yeah, and the other thing is what you did is you amplified parts of the game that I forgot in the middle of where I felt like things were actually going good, that we might actually have a chance, that the game wasn't as horrendously awful as I remember. The draft there was pre-tilting going on because we did get the first pick, Helthos, which just puts a team on cloud 9.
Yeah.
When you get that, and I'm not talking about the team, I'm talking about the feeling. When you get that first pick, Helthos, whether you're the one controlling it or not, there's just this sense of security that washes over you during the draft. If you're solo queuing, you don't know the other 4 people that you're playing with. It's just like, all right, there's sanity here. And what happened in this game was the last 2 players on our team, the last 2 in pick slots, were grouped up, and we didn't have a tank, and they grabbed Nova and Butcher, and that just pre-tilted everyone. And Kael'Thas and myself were just kind of like, dude, why? And then, as you saw, the first thing out of the guy's mouth was he started calling us a-holes, which is like, well, dude, you kind of pre-tilted the team.
You're the one who did this. Why are you now defending your position?
Right.
It was an interesting watch, and we were able to, certainly give everyone a lot of advice, and that was a good experience from watching these. I'm going to continue to watch these more next week, so check out twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson. We'll be watching more of the MMR Hell self-proclaimed. These are, hand-selected. No one's sending me their best game ever and saying, am I stuck here? Because here I play amazing, and so does everyone else. That's not happening. These are absolutely cherry-picked.
Yeah, you are reviewing bad games.
But the good thing was we were always able to find a way to improve, and I heard a lot from those people I did review that they went on to have fantastic games and use that advice in order to win more, and that's great. What I saw really happening a lot, particularly in the players that sent me the videos, was a ton of special snowflaking. You guys...
You need to explain your terminology for those who are unaware of Kyle Ferguson branded term, special snowflake.
You all have a fantastic amount of game knowledge because you listen to shows like this, you watch esports, listen to shows that aren't this. You are pursuing more game knowledge to become better at this game. And so with that knowledge, you aren't actually playing to what's happening in the game right now. That is almost the essence of what MMR Hell is. Your game knowledge has overtaken either the league you're playing in or the skills that you are actually able to execute. So one of the biggest examples I found was, let's all take a boss. Let's take a boss. And so all 5 of us run down there. Let's imagine our special snowflake is Greymane. Great damage, right? Absolutely can plow through that boss, help out a lot. And Greymane runs past the boss and stands in the bush opposite on the enemy side of the team, scouting. Now Greymane is keeping a lookout for anything that might come in during this boss. Ooh. But actually, if Greymane had just applied himself on that boss, burned it down faster, we'd already be done here by the enemy team showing up. Or what is Greymane actually going to accomplish? 5 people come running towards the boss, Greymane sitting in the front bush. Are you going to dive them? You're just going to jump in all 5 of them and delay them somehow and have your team take the boss that you did no DPS on? That is a classic example of special snowflaking.
Yep. I agree, and I love your term, by the way.
We have just destroyed the enemy team at the objective. Awesome. I understand from my pro knowledge and everything about my game knowledge in this game that sight is important. So I'm Zagar, and I'm going to go lay creep all over the map, and it's going to look beautiful while the whole team pushes. We should have pushed with that team. Your idea is fantastic. For the most part, if you're in gold or lower, people aren't going to take advantage of that sight that you've given everybody. I get upset about it too because sight is so important as a StarCraft player. But it wasn't what you should have been doing here, you special snowflaked.
I have pretty much stopped picking Zagara in my Hero League games for this very reason.
It's easy to be tilted when you execute something of a higher level and people don't take advantage of it.
Had some beautiful sunders in the replay I sent you today, Kyle.
Oh, good. I look forward to seeing those.
Enjoy the game. It's wacky.
So find ways to actually support what your team is already doing. If, let's say, you win that team fight, everyone's at half health, and you want everyone with your game knowledge to push down that middle lane and take a keep. Use 1,000 cups. Use your jugs on Lily. Everyone's going to get topped off. Everyone's going to feel great. Yes, it wasn't a mid-combat thing. It wasn't that esports cups you may have seen once that were incredible mid-fight. But now everyone's encouraged. What if everyone's attacking the core and you want them to keep attacking the core? Yes, an amazing flame strike's not about to hit everybody, but pop your storm shield. Now everyone feels encouraged. These are the sort of things that are active that you can do to push the team in the right way, rather than doing something that's also really important, stealing camps, keeping that site out, whatever it may be, but is not actually used by your league.
It's sounding a whole lot like you're almost telling people to be cheerleaders for their other 4 players.
That's a good way to do it. And it's also really important to acknowledge that game knowledge is really low on the tiers to climb up. And if we're talking bronze through grandmaster, like bronze, the essential skill you need in bronze is soaking and understanding how XP works. Knowing that if I kill someone, I'm going to get XP for it. We need to watch these lanes. We need to soak them so we have a higher level than the enemy team. That's the basic ground floor way to win. Silver, you have to understand talent builds. You have to understand why these talents combo together and make an optimal build, and why certain talent choices might be better against the enemy team. But really, if you just have a solid build that you stole from online, you're good to go in silver. And gold is where game knowledge comes in, and that's not that high up. And it's easy to assume that having tons of watch time in esports, really understand the game heavily on paper is what you need to go forward, because everything past that really comes down to choices and control. And those are practiced decisions. Those are experience that you will not get watching other people or reading a book about it.
Well said. Well said.
So far, we will continue to have this conversation. I think I'll report back in about 2 weeks as my investigation goes on. Keep on sending those replays. If you believe you're yourself in MMR hell, send those over to soloqacast@gmail.com. Check out the VOD of this last one. We have it here in the show notes for a link for that. But play to your team. Actually look at what they are capable of and cheerlead them.
Really dig your solo Q&A stream, dude. I highly recommend folks go and check it out. And again, check out the show notes, amove.tv/ITN. Check for the episode 114 post. If you're watching live, it's not up yet. This is for the VOD and podcast listeners, but go check it out. Get a link, or just go to kyleferguson.com and check out your YouTube. Right, Kyle?
Yep, and keep reporting. Keep reporting. We're gonna make a good community here.
Awesome. Well, let's take a couple emails before we round the show out.
Darkness stopped calling.
Darkness just texted me.
It's not the over, it's a hero brawler!
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. Are both our emails seriously from Michael?
No.
Oh, all right.
That's not happening. I'll fix it.
All right. Well, first email is from Michael. And Michael writes, I am a very casual player, and when I play, I prefer to play quick match. I don't make a lot of money to spend on the game, so my character selection is limited. I don't like doing draft mode because I can't choose a character based on what I want to play. With the introduction of unranked draft, the quick match wait times are extremely long, limiting my already sparse time with the game. I understand a desire to add modes that create a game closer to that of the ones the pros play, but I feel like it's crushing people like myself who just want to play for fun. Is there a place for me in this game still, or are casual players along my playstyle being phased out? Love the show, and thanks for your time. Go.
They are actually both named Michael.
Oh, okay, cool.
Double Michael email section.
Alrighty. I mean, it's not the world's most uncommon name. I don't think we've ever had a double same name from emails.
No, this is horribly unexciting, but I mean, this is the thrills of podcasting again. I'm kind of excited.
Yes, it is horribly unexciting. I doubt it. I mean, I don't think that, but that's the thing. I don't know, man. Even when I'm feeling like playing this game casually, I still want to draft. So I'm biased in my answer to this question. And
people have been very open to having weird picks in unranked and really trying their darndest, I've found. First picks, the bans are still very what you would expect. Kale Thossley, Ming, Tracer, Illidan. All those sort of Morales gets worked in there depending on what your league is. But I find most people are open to let you pick what you want in unranked. The game won't in its current form lose quick match because that's where you're going to get your gold and your hero levels in order to participate in ranked. Granted, you don't need hero levels for unranked, but you got to own enough heroes. So there is a disconnect, and I have queued up just one to practice Tracer this week, and quick match has been a really long wait in comparison. It's definitely less filled out now.
Yeah, and that's that is an issue. I mean, I think we even talked about how that might be an outcome of unranked draft being added to the game, and I don't know how to fix that. It's not even one of those things where you'd be like, well, we just need a bigger influx of players. There's no guarantee that would even fix it. They may all just go to unranked draft.
Yeah.
So, it's quite tough. And like I said, I personally am biased because there are times where I just want to play the game just for fun. But now that unranked is drafting there, I'm like, I just want to play it for fun. But I'm still going to go in the draft because I prefer to play the game that way.
Right, and he's saying he prefers to play quick match. He likes wacky match, which I'm glad stuck pretty well last time. So we'll go and keep rolling with it.
Let's just keep going with wacky match. I like wacky match. Wacky match has its place. Not really for me.
We're about to get more heroes added to this game. Every 3 weeks is currently the schedule, and they've been sticking to it well.
Right.
I feel like it's about time we have a nice $40, $50 package where you get yourself the 14 required heroes. They may not be ones you want, but it is a package of 14 priced well.
I mean, I'd like to see that too. So are you suggesting that it be 14 heroes that are popularly considered the meta picks?
I mean, you don't, if Gul'dan comes out tomorrow, you don't give him that. You don't give him Medivh. It's not even a difficulty rating. It's just nice to have carrots on a stick. I want to work towards unlocking things that are cool. Like Skeleton King. I think he might just be cool enough to put a price tag on. But we can go and give people, ETC, Muradin, Jaina, Malfurion, like the base set they might need. In the current form, I would like it to have Kael'thas. I don't think it needs Li Ming, but everyone needs to understand what Kael'thas can do. That would be an awesome addition. Lunara, those sort of got murky. Like, those are fine. We don't need those in the set.
Yeah. So I don't know. The thing is, I really don't know what the answer is to fix quick match.
It's supposed to be a wacky place.
I feel like
Blizzard has said as much.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about fixing the mode. I'm talking about fixing the queue, which was Michael's main concern here.
Do you just throw it out the window, MMR, and just match people as fast as possible because it doesn't matter? I mean, here, interesting thing. One of the best ways to learn, if you're not going to go seek out your own information, look up guides and read. That's boring. Playing video games are easy to get good at because it's fun. And so maybe if we open up quick match in an MMR setting, stop trying to make such good maps, we might get a better player pool in general. I mean, I was okay at Skeleton King, just okay. But then I saw one guy, and I even get chills thinking about him. I don't even remember his name, but he was just completely a beast. He showed me how to, not by telling me, by defeating me, showed me how to stutter step my Drain Hope with my walk.
Ah, all right.
And that's how I learned that, was that guy kicking my butt. And that was so inspiring. That's how I've come to love a lot of heroes, is just some dude on the enemy team showing me how it's done.
Yeah, I don't expect everyone out there to agree with what you just suggested, which is relaxing the MMR restrictions in terms of matchmaking. So you have a more even team in terms of skill for quick match. But now that you put that out there, I like that idea, especially now that we have unranked draft. I mean, why not? Why not kind of embrace the chaos that is quick match?
Well, and you have to remember too, I come from Warcraft 3 Dota, where you queued all night for hour-long games in the hopes of one of the 50 games, everyone staying connected the whole time during dial-up days. but two, that it was actually going to be an even match. But it was also really cool in those environments for one dude to just be an absolute beast. And like four of us are hiding behind a wall, hoping the other skilled guy can defeat this enemy skilled guy. I don't think that's a bad place in Wacky Match.
I don't think so either, Kyle. Well, let's take an email from a different Michael, shall we? I'm not going to call him different Mike. I'm just going to call him Mike. Michael writes in, different Michael, and says, maybe you can figure this.
You wouldn't call him that.
I know. I can't help it. Maybe you can figure this out for me. My friend and I just finished our placement matches, and he ranked higher than me, only by about 200 points, but it was still strange. We played all our placement matches together. I don't think it's taking previous season performance into account since I had a higher rank in preseason than he did. I did play a support through about half of our matches where he played damage for all of them. Or did it take quick match MMR into account in choosing our placements?
So if you have never played Hero League at all, it used your quick match MMR to seed you in there and get an idea of where you should belong for your placements. So if you never played Hero League before Season 1, you had a lower MMR in quick match than your friend did. Your friend placed slightly higher.
Okay. He's not saying they played together, right?
Through their placement matches, yes. But they didn't play.
Okay.
These accounts weren't exclusive for their quick match experience before that, so they had separate MMRs.
Okay. Gotcha.
There is no individual skill in the game right now. I know Blizzard is working very hard to add something along that, but it is exploitable. So if they ever came up with a system, probably wouldn't even let us know how it works. Or two, it would have to be so perfectly refined that we couldn't abuse it.
That's a good point. And this ties back into what we were talking about earlier, why rank and MMR are two separate things. And then Blizz Losby talking about the what is in the old system as far as matchmaking that are causing some issues.
Yeah.
So I kind of... Good choice on the email this week. Kind of ties everything up in a nice little neat bow.
So everything is working as intended for Michael.
So far. Well, thank you both, Michaels, for writing in this week. And again, listeners out there, you can send us an email, send us your questions, send us your experiences to itncast@gmail.com. That is going to do it for this week's episode of Into the Nexus. If you are a patron and you are watching live, hang out afterwards because we're going to get some after-show games going. You'll probably get to kick our butts. That's how it usually happens anyway. Thanks again for supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN. If you're an iTunes listener to the podcast feed, drop us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you to Proscunio is how I'm gonna choose to pronounce that one, and SoCalDean. Thank you guys for your 5-star reviews. Check out amove.tv where you can find this podcast and every other single podcast that I do, and a lot of things that Kyle does as well. Thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. You can get coffee mugs, pint glasses, and more that are ITN branded over at bit.ly/amove store. And we'll be back next Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on twitch.tv/AMoveTV or over at alphageekradio.com. You can follow the show at ITNcast. And big thanks to Gorath for our intro music and big thanks to Brian Griffith for our outro music. Go check out their work. Kyle, where can folks find you?
This week, find me over at youtube.com/Kyle Ferguson. Put up quite a few videos this week. Tomorrow I'll post that duo Q&A I did with Gorath yesterday. That was awesome. Thank you again to Gorath for joining me for that. Really cool, because it's so easy to get caught in a vacuum. We all have our own opinions. We all have our own experiences. First pick Lunara. Like for him, first pick Lunara, no big deal. So it was awesome to exchange information, even though we were kind of in the same league placement, just different experiences causing a different worldview. In addition to that, of course, check out while you're over there the MMR Hell replays. And, well, look forward to more of those next week over at twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson. And might I say, Garrett, I didn't see this beforehand, but we're currently on the launcher. And thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. This is awesome.
We've been doing, Kyle, we're about to hit July. Do you know what July is?
What is July?
July is our 6th year anniversary of starting podcasting together.
That's right.
We did StarCraft podcasts for over 3 years. StarCast, for those of you who remember, a couple folks in chat room have been here that long. And then we switched to Heroes of the Storm and started doing this show Into the Nexus, which is now on its 114th episode. And dude, you're right. We are on the Heroes of the we are on the BattleNet launcher under Heroes of the Storm right now on the slider, which is just awesome. The new community outreach programs from Blizzard has been just so cool. As a fan of the studio for so long, it's awesome. I mean, I'm not saying anything anyone should be surprised by. Blizzard is promoting our show, which is really cool. So obviously I'm going to think that's cool. But I still think it's cool. So there you go. Folks, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at Garrett Art, 2 R's and 2 T's in my name, Garrett. So check that out. And obviously, just check out amove.tv. There's a lot of other podcasts I do. Kyle and I sat down with our friend Jocelyn and spoiled the Warcraft movie. If you want to find that podcast, just look up Embrace the Spoilers wherever podcasts are found. Check out The Angry Chicken for Hearthstone. And all of the other shows over at AMove TV. Put up a new Overwatchers just yesterday. So you want to hear me, Patrick, Chanman V talk Overwatch, that's the podcast for you. Now, just because we aren't running ads at the top of the show doesn't mean we don't have codes for you guys. You can use the code ITN over at doghousesystems.com to get a free solid-state drive added on to your gaming rig. That's on top of the regular storage drive, so go check them out. You can also use the code ITN over at tweakedaudio.com to get 30% off and free shipping off of your entire order of noise-reducing earbuds and headphones from Tweaked Audio. We thank them for their support. We thank you all for listening. And until next time, good luck and have fun.
Take care.